want to set this thing up right now so we can have this discussion. 400 years and back in bondage. 400 years and back in bondage. Happy Sabbath. Oh, I'm going to talk about it. I think I'm going to do a whole segment on it next week. I think I'm going to invite some panelists on to have this discussion. I'm going to talk about it because I'm upset. And I'm going to share with you why I'm upset. We're going to get into that in just a second. I'm going to fix this camera while I'm at this stop sign. Oh, we're going to talk about it, brothers and sisters. We're going to talk about it. 400 years. Let me fix this camera. There we go. 400 years and back in bondage. I'm going to talk about it because, and I'm going to do a segment on it. First of all, let me say happy Sabbath to everybody. Shout out to everybody. Happy Sabbath. Today we're going to be tuning in to a very good lesson titled Tithes and Offering. That'll be in today. We'll be going live with that. So let's talk about this for a second. Shout out to everybody. Happy Sabbath to everybody. On the way down to the class. Looking forward to tuning in today. Now, here's why I'm talking about this lesson. In South Florida, federal government did a roundup Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. A lot of folk went to jail. And a lot of our people went to jail this weekend, since Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Missed of COVID, they didn't care. Went to federal, got arrested on federal charges. Before I get into what that was all about, 2019, I lost friends because I would not teach the 400-year doctrine. That's number one. Number two, some people said, no, it's not in 2019, it's going to be next year. 2020 rolled around, nope. And I wanted to wait until after August. 2021 rolled around, nope. You'll be going into this man's numeric year of 2022, and there's no 400 years because it's already happened. Here's the point that I want to make. You know what you got after 400 years? Zero on that bad doctrine. See, I dealt with Enoch. And showed you how bad that book was because it wasn't written by Enoch. And now we're going to hit this 400-year doctrine because it's going to get people jammed up. And it's going to frustrate people because when nothing happens, then when the Great Tribulation comes, you're going to think that's a hoax because you're so used to dealing with hoaxes. You're going to get caught up in some mess that it's going to be like a time like you've never seen before, and you're going to get caught up in some mess. Because you done heard cry wolf, cry wolf, cry wolf, cry wolf. And after a while, all that cry wolf stuff, it's going to get, that's why the scripture says it's going to be a great falling away. Let me deal with this. 2019. Nope. Nancy Pelosi said it's 400 years. They did a resolution. They wanted to landmark 400 years of slavery. And Ghana's telling people to come home and this and that, and we getting ready to go. We're going to get reparations. Your reparations was in all of that equipment that they left in Afghanistan. Your reparations And I'm going to get into why a lot of people got arrested over the last 3 days in South Florida. Besides that the weather's good here. 400 years, we're going to get paid. You got a pandemic. You're the smallest in the population, and more people are dying among the smallest people in the population among that group than out of the entire other 80% of the people. How you figure that? That's number one. Number two, you're not going to get reparations because the stimulus money already done went out. So there went your reparations. But why did I say 400 years? Brother Roderick says, how you doing, Brother Roderick? Brother Roderick says, oh, I can't see it anymore, Brother Roderick. Here it is. I know a well-known brother who's pushing for people to follow him over to the land. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. The Lord said, I'm going to gather you one by one when I return. You ain't going nowhere. You're going back into bondage. Let me explain to you. They had a program called PPP. And it was called the personal protection, something that the government was giving away. If you were to saw the headlines in the news naming prominent people who went to jail, if we're not dying from COVID, we're going to jail because we took that money, that false application loan, and got that $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. Some people got $200 and some odd $1,000. And the government came and rounded them up. They just hit this side of the country because there's no flooding, there's no hurricane, there's no nothing else. So let's start over here. Let's go down here in the southeast and grab them people up first. And you going where? You going to get 400 years of what? Freedom? No, you're going right to jail because we don't listen. Instead of returning to the Most High and getting to the book where the Lord wants us at, we chasing bad doctrines, bad books, itching ears, and we won't get to the book. We got Feast of Trumpets coming up. Nobody knows what that's about. Don't even know why you do it. We're in bad shape. Bad shape. Got one of the most important feast days that tells you what the Lord is getting ready to do, and people have no idea what that feast day is about. Have no idea what Feast of Trumpets is about. In fact, you start to follow the Gentiles by running around and saying, Happy New Year, Rosh Hashanah. That's what Rosh Hashanah means, by the way. So they rounded up all these people in South Florida. I mean, I'm looking, the media, they have a way of subliminally letting you know who all the people were filing for these bad applications. And all you see is brown people. Put all the faces up there because they took this money on these applications because Willie in the neighborhood told you all of a sudden he knows how to file for this paperwork, and he went online and he learned how to do it, and he got all these people money. So when he gives one person money, which is a trap, so he charges $5,000. He's gonna take $5,000 out of your $20,000, and you have no idea what Willie put down on cousin Willie put down on the paperwork that you got a business and an LLC. And there's people who got that money that are on all kinds of other government assistance. And you got the money, but yet you filed other paperwork to get unemployment or get government assistance, whether it's food stamps, whatever. And you put down on that paperwork that you only make $8,000 a year. I'm just trying to tell y'all what people did. When I say you, I'm not referring to you in general. This is what people did. Let me just say it that way. This is what people did. Mainly our people. This is what they did. Then they said they had a business, a LLC, which they don't have, but they created one. Got the money, but then before COVID, you were applying for government assistance and was getting money. There's going to be a lot of people going to jail. So they did a big roundup down here in South Florida. Some people claimed that they had 10 and 15 employees. But yet you're the same person. These were the same people who filed. I'm telling you. The government set people up. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. Because y'all know I don't go with no conspiracy theories. But when I see who's going to jail, I'm like, wow. So down here in South Florida, they showed all of these people. I'm like, I know them. How did they get $200,000? They got $100,000 from this PPP program? How? They don't even have a broom sweeping company. How did they do that? The young man who I worked at, he said, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to tell you how the game worked. Because the federal government came to talk to me. Because somebody told me that they could get me $10,000. When that money came to my account, it was $100,000. I told the bank to send the money back. And the guy's asking me for his $20,000. He said, man, I sent that money back. Why'd you do that? That's what the guy told him. Why did you do that? He said, man, you had $100,000 of free money. He said, man, I don't know what you filled out. I have no idea what you filled out. But I know I got a job, and how am I getting $100,000? I don't even make $100,000 a year at my job, putting in 40 hours a week. So I got uncomfortable, and I turned the money back. And he told me about it. I said, bruh, I'm glad you turned that money back in, but you still gonna have to answer some questions. So sure enough, they came on the job and talked to him. And he said, hey, I gave the money back, but why did you give it back? Because when they filled out the paperwork, I didn't feel comfortable. They said, well, we do see that you did give it back, and we want to know who filled out the paperwork for you. And of course, he, told him he didn't know who that person was, but gave him the phone numbers he had. In fact, they pulled up his cell phone. But during that time, when you put in the application, you was having, do you know this guy? Yeah, that's the number. And they already knew, because everybody's worried about the government giving you a shot and being able to follow you around. All they did was pull up his cell phone. That's all they did. Because that number was on everybody's phone whose that number was on, that person that they're looking at, they're coming to talk to. And if you got the money, you're going right to federal prison. And let me tell you what the government gets out of it. You know how much money the government makes when you got to do 3 and 4 years in federal prison? You know how much money the government gets a day? You know what the number one industry in South Florida is? It's not oranges. The number one industry in Florida, in the state of Florida, the number one industry, you would think it would be oranges. It's the penal system. It's the prison system. The number one industry. Yeah, it's the number one industry. It makes more money in the state of Florida than any other industry. So 400 years, and a lot of people going back into bondage. I looked and saw the people. And even if you negotiate and get 90 days, you got a record. You think you're going to be able to get a job with a federal fraud, wire fraud? They got multiple charges they're hitting people up with. Wire fraud, false. I mean, they got all kinds of federal charges. I didn't even know where they got some of these charges from. Some people got 6 to 10 charges for just getting $20,000 for, and didn't even have a business. And I tell you, I'm upset. I'm upset because if you try to come and teach the truth, people don't want it. They do not want the truth. They want false doctrine. They want the 400 years, and they want the books of Enoch, and we want this and we want that. But the scriptures, they don't want. They don't want the scriptures. So I'm going to let you know, whatever state you're in, just start watching the news, because the federal government is out rounding people up. You took the money. They gave you the money. They got your name. And this is what I don't understand. You put in for people put in for federal assistance for other things like food stamps, WIC. Some of them they called Link. They got different names in different states and different areas, because the federal government gives the money to the state, then the state creates a program, and then those programs go out to the people, right? And you go and give them your name, social security number, and people claim that they make $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year, and they need government assistance, and then turn around and let Cousin Willie talk you in to creating a business that don't exist, so you can get 20, 30, 40, some people $100,000. Right away you should know. A lot of people are getting ready to go to jail, and they're gonna look like brown people. I'm telling you, when I saw all of those squares and they just throwing up the names, the people went to jail. Children of prominent people just going to jail for these crazy loans that did not exist because your paperwork was bad. Should have known better. 400 years back in bondage. They don't have to do slavery. All they got to do is prison labor. Do some paperwork out there, throw out a couple traps, you bite on it, and you're going right to jail. That's what's pretty much happening. I'm going to bring y'all more information on that, because how people let somebody down the street in the hood who has never filed an income tax report fill out paperwork for you to get a PPP loan because it's a stimulus and the government's giving it to everybody and you qualify. All right. We talk about this later. Tune in at 1 o'clock. We got a good lesson coming forth. Pastor Boyd's doing a great lesson today. Happy Sabbath. We'll talk soon. 400 years back in jail. It's sad. That's what we get. Sad.